Hi, and welcome to another episode of Pat Baer's Anime Club. I'm Pat Baer, and it's time we did it. Let's talk about anime clubs. Now, in this series, I often talk about anime that I'm really into, or that's coming out, or I talk about genre. In the last episode, we talked about horror anime. And in this one, well, we're just going to do a little more storytelling. So less slides and more me talking to you. But we do have a few slides, so we got to get through pretty quick before we can really get into it. Just kind of a base level of things. So, anime club. I was born in 1980. I joined my first anime club in the mid 90s. There was not one in my high school. There was not one in my college. But there were local area anime clubs, and I belonged to those because when I was growing up and figuring things out and starting to get into anime in the, let's say, mid 90s, is when that kind of came, you had VHS tapes. VHS tapes, like you can see here in this photo, that's where you're going to get fan subs. These are people who are taking the raw Japanese language episodes of television and OVAs, direct-to-video, and translating it themselves, or they paid other people to do it, and then they're putting those subtitles on the tape, making copies of that. First generation, second generation, third generation, and then sending them out to people. And then tape trading happens. Comic book shops and import stores and kiosks in the mall where you would also buy martial arts DVDs. Well, they would sell those. Some of them would sell or trade as well. And you see these like taped on or glued on labels that come on tapes, and they go out to people. That's VHS tapes. Eventually, people start catching on about VCD. That is a disc that is basically a CD, but instead of just having a video file on it, it's encoded to play in VCD players. Or your computer would have a program that would run a video CD, much like you would run a DVD or a CD in a CDR, or CD-ROM, I should say, in your computer. There was an add-on you could put on your PlayStation that let it play VCDs. That is how I played VCDs when I first got it. Or you could buy VCD players. DVD players would play VCDs and still do, I'm sure. I don't know if Blu-ray players do, but whatever. It was basically a way to fit a bunch of stuff on, and it was done commercially, and also people started being able to burn them. That's how I watched most of my Dragon Ball movies and Dragon Ball Z movies, were getting VCDs. And then finally, people started figuring out how to make bootleg DVDs of anime. In the same way you would get bootleg DVD movies, people were starting to put, there's literally, you can't see it in the photo because it's not big enough for you to see it, but the One Piece there says episodes 501 to 550. In some sort of collection of several DVDs. Because you could fit, at the time, probably like 10 episodes onto a DVD of very low quality footage. And also, in the case of these DVDs, you're definitely dealing with low quality subtitles. A lot of Google translation before there was Google, so that's Alta Vista or various other search engine direct translate. The perfect example of that, Yugi means game. So in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime that fan subs that I watched, he would be called Game because the people that were doing the translation weren't like, yeah, that's his name, we should just call him Yugi. No one was having that conversation. Anyway, that's just a brief little bit of that. This is what I Googled Anime Club, and this came up. This is a library's like poster to promote their anime club. So what is an anime club, you're asking yourself? And hey, I talked about the VHS tapes and the VCDs and DVDs. All those exist because there was a time, and you might find this odd, where there were only like 2 anime on television. Like there was Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon, and then like a couple here and there. Toonami was getting bigger, but wasn't big yet. They weren't importing things, and dubs were out there, but not that many, and not done very well. Particularly some were, but not many. If you wanted anime, you had to get VHS tapes and DVDs and the like, and you tape traded, and people did fan subbing, and that was hard to find. For me, it was going to New London because there was a comic book store where you could buy whatever you needed. They got fan subs. I believe that place had someone going to New York to buying fan subs that a New Yorker would get, and had a bunch of VCRs and was copying them. So you were getting like a third generation, which is pretty good for the time. Because torrents weren't a thing. Because streaming services weren't a thing. I mean, we'll do a whole thing on the history of Crunchyroll, but there weren't legitimate ways to watch anime, and fan subbing is not a legal enterprise. And there were fan sub groups that said, "Well, when the show is licensed in the U.S., we won't fan sub it anymore." A store I would frequent did not believe that thing, which is not legal. It's just a good policy, I guess. They went so far as to they would make VHS copies of like Silent Mobius, which was a licensed product that came out on DVD. They would just copy the DVD onto VHS tapes and sell that along with everything else. And that wasn't a fan sub that they were not being cool about selling. That was legitimately just like a licensed product in the US. Not cool. But legality and all that is another story. We're talking about, I've done a lot of preambles. We're talking about anime clubs. So for me, my first real anime club was when I was in the mid-90s. I got invited to join a club. A friend of mine knew a guy, and they invited me to join in. It was at someone's house. They owned a board game and comic book and hobby shop store, and then lived next door. And they had just a bunch of fan subs, and people would bring stuff in, and they would do trades, and we just watch whatever. You'd watch shows you didn't care about. You watch shows you loved. We would vote on, hey, should we keep watching this series? And it was fun. It was a way to watch stuff. It was a thing to do and a thing to belong to. Now, not every anime club is equal. Some of them are in college and are just college students at that college. Some of them are somebody who works. A lot of them are people who work at comic book shops, because that was where you met other people that liked anime, I guess, or also where you sold fan subs and bootlegs. You'd have a shelf of VHS tapes right next to that TV show that has no distribution and was about like some sort of comic property. Well, we're selling that, so if you want this, you can buy it here. And the Star Wars special, because you couldn't buy that anywhere, would also have like, hey, here's fan subs of Berserk. Berserk's pretty cool. You might like this. Hey, we also sell Ninja Scroll. Don't buy Ninja Scroll, young person. But we sell that, and various other properties and all that. Hey, y'all watching the 13 episodes of Dragon Ball that came out in the US, huh? Well, we've got 50 tapes of Dragon Ball of various things, and some of them have Japanese commercials as well. I don't know. The fan subgroup that made this doesn't exist anymore. So you found your way. And some groups had creepos and weirdos and not cool people, and you grinned and bared it, and you maybe talked a little bit about like, hey, what's up with this dude? But, well, that weirdo, the creep, is a sponsor. He literally pays for a group to import laser discs of this OVA that we all like, and we're getting first generation copies. They're encoding the fan subs over the laser disc, and the first VHS copy that's coming out of the VCR we're getting. Oh, they're doing S-video now. We're getting the S-video tapes. So we got to keep this jerk and weirdo happy in our group. Not everyone had that. A few of you reached out to me. I will keep names anonymous for this. But a few of you told me this. And also, hey, here's a call to action. In the comments below, were you in an anime club? Was it cool? Was it terrible? Let me know. Someone said to me, I'm going to read this here. I joined my anime club in college, and it actually where I met my girlfriend. It was a place that we met once a week and kind of just chilled, watched anime, and hung out. We did have this one guy in the club who no one really liked, but he mostly played games on his computer and would complain when we watched a show he didn't like or watched a show in English. Subs versus dubs. This is where it really started. But I did meet some amazing people there and still keep in contact with a few of them. And that's an awesome story. There's always a gatekeeper, right? I'm about to read a thing about that. I went to an anime club in college, but there were a lot of gatekeepers, so I quit and joined a Mario Kart club instead. 1, great job. They do not deserve your time. And 2, hell yeah, Mario Kart. That's awesome. Now I would say you start your own goddamn anime club without gatekeepers, where people can bring in Cardcaptor Sakura and be like, well, it's the dub of Cardcaptor. Cardcaptor Sakura is the sub, Cardcaptors is the dub name. I apologize. You can bring in a dub of Cardcaptors and be like, I like this. I like Hamtaro. Let's watch episodes of Hamtaro. Let's watch Detective Conan. It's rad. Case closed? You all never heard of it? And it'd be like, no, we only watch One Piece and Bleach here. And you'd be like, all right, settle the fuck down. I swore. I was trying not to swear much in this episode. I swore. Anyway, got another thing here. I was in an anime club that met in a comic book shop after hours. We would torrent stuff and put it on a Mac Mini hooked up to a TV. We did it until the guy who worked at the store who ran the club got fired for stealing comics. Yeah. Comic book owners or comic book employees running anime clubs is very common in the people I've talked to about that. Also, I like that. So, obviously, torrenting changed the game, right? So, some people were putting raw video up on IRC back in the day, and that's how groups in Canada and the US and Australia, that's how a lot of people got their raws and then added fan subs. They were getting tapes sometimes in the mail, but they also could get raws that some people were hooking up TV capture cards to their TVs to their computer with capture cards and grabbing that. And there were groups that were doing that and putting up their fan subs as torrents. But not everyone had good internet or or the ability to just download things over the weekends. So, yeah, if you had a store where you could hook a computer up to a good internet thing and then just have torrents running all day, and then you got to watch that, that's pretty sweet. Now, it's a bummer that your host decided to ruin a good thing by being a thief, but it happens. But yeah, you couldn't really pick the people you were with. It was mostly just that, we liked the same thing generally. And I was lucky. I had people in my life. I went to Otakon in the 90s with friends of mine, people I knew. We traveled. I had friends that liked some of the things. Now, I liked things maybe they didn't. We showed the VCD of Love Hina. I don't know if any of my friends liked Love Hina. I thought it was funny and fun. And a buddy of mine loves, boxing animes and sports anime, and I've never been super into that. But there was always enough that we discussed and liked. Hunter x Hunter was a thing that most of my friends who liked anime enjoyed. And you found the commonalities. So, to me, there's a special place in my heart for anime clubs. Now, you can join a Discord for your favorite anime. I spend a lot of time when I'm doing model kit building on my Twitch streams talking about anime that I'm watching. And I'm watching that on Crunchyroll and Hulu, Amazon Prime and Netflix, and, buying stuff now and then, buying seasons of things. I don't torrent anymore. I understand folks that feel they have to for financial reasons, or you live in a part of the world where those shows aren't licensed and you want to join the conversation and like the things you like. And I get that. When I really needed anime in 2001, when I lived in New York and didn't live in a place that had the internet or television, I would pay for a guy in San Francisco who worked at a college. He downloaded torrents and put them on a CD, and you could get like CDR, and then you could just watch them with your DivX player program. And he would actually send updates of that too, because I started asking like, hey, I can't download anything. I don't have internet at home right now. Can you put the latest update, patch the updates for Media Player or VLC Player or whatever? And he would send those, which was rad. And you could get like whatever's new, and there's just like a bunch of stuff on that, because Media Mail had just come out, so it was very inexpensive for him to send CDRs out. And that's how I watched anime for a long time. And then I started torrenting at work eventually, and I got in trouble for that and apologized because I was using up all of their downloads, getting myself some Naruto. I needed to watch Naruto. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, and maybe when people talk about Anime Club, or I say the name of the show, you understand what I'm talking about. In the same way that, you know, Japan Club, Video Game Club, whatever, like your high school, your college, your local area, your local library, those places where people can come together around a common theme, and maybe you don't like the same things, but you appreciate it about each other. Now, like I said, you join a Discord, you join a Facebook group, you have yourself your Twitter friends all like the same stuff, and you talk about that. I understand. It's way easier to like niche things and talk about those things. I belong to a Discord that's all about isekais, and we debate constantly if a show is an isekai or not. Generally, the people that are like, well, it's from a different world, video games shouldn't count. Well, video games count, but only if you're trapped in that video game, and it shouldn't count if you can take the headset off. It counts, but only if you were reborn in a world that seems like the video game. And these debates are great, and I love them very much. They don't frustrate me all to hell. And the debates on whether or not harem is an integral part of isekai, or the worst part of isekai, do not bother me in the slightest, that I am always outnumbered. Anyway, please leave me a comment. Let me know about your anime clubs, or did you never join one? How you got into started watching anime? Would you join an anime club if there was one in your area that was looking for members? Do you think it would be fun to do that? Or what's a topic you'd like me to do in my next video? I just got back at the time of this release from Anime NYC. I've been thinking about maybe doing a video on conventions, another storytelling video, but I also could do another video that is about a topic. Do you want to hear about isekais? Is it time for me to talk about the history of isekai? Do you want to hear about magazines or newspapers, or not newspapers? What am I talking about? I'm rambling right now. I'm out of notes. Do you want to hear about, you know, like magazines and websites, that's what I was going to say, dedicated to anime, Anime News Network? Do you want to hear about that? Those kind of things. Do you want to talk about cosplay? Is it time we talk about cosplay? Let me know in the comments, or something you just really want to hear me chat about that you like. Maybe shonen, the best shonen shows this season or this year. We can talk about that. Anyway, that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment. Share with a friend. Like the other stuff I do. Watch my streams and watch my other YouTube videos. And thank you very much for watching this video. This has been 18 minutes. And that's too long, but okay. Bye-bye.